Hello, my name is Nick. I am an ex-Royal Marines Commando, British military fitness instructor, boot camp instructor, rehab instructor, and a level 3 personal trainer. And today we're going to answer the question of how do I get a six-pack? How do you get a six-pack? It will depend on your genetics, whether or not it's going to be achievable for you to get a six-pack. Some people just have unfortunate genetics and other people are just blessed with genetics where they don't actually need to do an awful lot to get a six-pack. Most people fit in the kind of middle ground. In my experience of training possibly well over 1,000 people throughout my time and career with large boot camps. So you're going to need to get your body fat down to about 6 to 9% body fat, so your body fat composition, in order for that six-pack to be shown. And you're going to need to do workout exercises that target the core muscles in order for those core muscles to be there in order to be shown. So you're going to be wanting to have a high protein diet. You're going to basically have to really monitor your diet, and the best way to do that is with the apps that are out now, where everything you eat throughout the day you can plug into those apps and it will give you a breakdown of exactly how much protein you're having, how many carbs you're having, how many vitamins you're having of the different groups. It will literally give you a detailed breakdown. And there are many people out there who will show you what they do to get their six-pack, i.e. their exact routine, their macronutrients that they're eating and their grams of protein per day that they're eating and what protein shake they're having. So the best way I can describe in how to get a six-pack, if you really want it desperately, is you're going to have to micromanage your diet. You're going to have to look at the quantities of what you're eating. You're going to have to probably start weighing the meals that you're eating so that you can perfectly quantify and put onto this app what you're having. If you're more blessed with genetics, then you can take more of a relaxed approach and just generally guesstimate what you're eating and reduce it slightly if you need to and increase it slightly if you need to. And yeah, that's the best I can do. Try and get so do a weighted workout program, but also do some cardio to shift some of that body fat. So people like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, he does a lot of talking about how he gets his physique. He does a lot of weightlifting, but he also he makes sure he gets a lot of cardio done in as well, to try and keep the body fat down to a maximum. Six packs are not they're not impossible really to achieve. Many gyms in London, they will actually advertise, we will guarantee you a six-pack if you follow exactly what we're doing. Some of the high-end gyms, and the high-end gyms will actually provide you with your breakfast, your lunch and your dinner. And they actually provide you with a chauffeur from and to your house. Obviously it costs a lot of money, but I give the example because there is literally a formula for that six-pack. But what they need to do is those gyms need to meet you, find out about you, find where you are now, i.e. are you obese, are you really skinny, what type of build are you looking for, and then they structure that around you as an individual. So there is no one answer as how do I get a six-pack. So with all of my clients that I have trained over the years who wish to get six-packs, we basically have to fault find to begin with, and that's what you will need to do. What works for you and what doesn't work for you. Are you blessed with genetics that allows you to get a six-pack? So if I have a client who comes into me who is very overweight and hasn't exercised for most of his life and says, I want to get a six-pack, you're kind of like, we can do that, but the road is going to be long and you're going to need to be really disciplined, very disciplined. But if you're obese, there's a strong chance that you're not that disciplined with diet. So it's going to be a kind of a culture change for you to become disciplined in your diet. Whereas if you have an athletic person who always does exercise and they're just looking to finally trim that bit of fat off to get the six-pack, they're quite easy to transfer into that six-pack because they're almost there, but they have the commitment and the dedication. So if you take anything from this video, how to get a six-pack, it will be a commitment and a dedication to micromanaging how you get that six-pack, depending on your genetics, because if you're blessed with genetics, you may find it really easy to get a six-pack. If you're really on the other scale and you're not blessed with the genetics to have a six-pack, then you're going to really, really need to micromanage everything you're doing in order to have a six-pack. A great example I can give is I know a personal trainer who is a competitive bodybuilder in Australia. And for her events, when she's competing, obviously she has to reveal all of her muscle groups, and they tan themselves up and they go up on stage and basically reveal their hard work. She is constantly monitoring every single gram of food that she consumes, and she's putting it onto an app, and she's literally analyzing it all the time. And if her six-pack starts to fade away a bit, she then can see exactly what she had over the last 3, 4, 5, 7 days and goes, okay, I need to change something there. And she says, 2 weeks ago, my six-pack was great. I can now go back and see what I was eating gram for gram 2 weeks ago and see what the difference is and where I'm going wrong. Once she finishes the competition, her post-competition treat for herself is to have a huge pizza. And she says, literally, once I eat that huge pizza, over the next couple of days, as my body kind of absorbs it and digests it, I can literally watch the definition of my six-pack going. So they're hard to maintain depending on your genetic type and depending on what type of physique you want. So you also need to be realistic with the physique that you want. So me personally, I am quite tall and lanky, thin. So my dream physique would be to look like, what's his name from Fast and Furious? The main guy, Vin Diesel. I think he has a cool physique because he's not really defined, but he just has a good size to him. I just don't really have the genetics for that type of build. A, because I'm very tall, I'm never going to have, he's not a particularly tall person. I'm not going to ever have his physique or build. So you need to be realistic with what build you want. So again, if I have a really skinny client that comes in and goes, I want a six-pack and I want to look like The Rock, you're kind of thinking, well, you're not going to be able to get them both at the same time. I use The Rock as an example, like of an exaggerated example. So they say, I want to be a lot bigger. Okay, you want to be a lot bigger. So first of all, we need to put you on a massively calorie surplus diet whilst doing big, huge compound exercises for you to target as many of the muscle groups as possible, training you hypertrophy so that we get bigger muscles and we're feeding those muscles. During that time, you're not going to have your six-pack because you're on a calorie surplus, which means we're trying to get in as many calories as possible, and that six-pack isn't going to be there. But once we have that size to you, the size where you're happy, then we can start stripping away the fat, and you will lose some muscle mass. That's the unfortunate thing when you're on a calorie deficit. It's not just body fat you lose, it's also muscle mass that you lose. So Daniel Craig in the James Bond movie, I was looking at his periodized program when I was at work. He had a 6-month periodized program which would bring him up to the scene where he walks out of the water on the beach, and he's got this great chest and six-pack muscles, and they literally periodized that program for that specific day. So he knew that on that day they were going to do that scene, and on other days throughout the movie he was going to have his shirt on and he was just doing action scenes. So even for these celebrities that you see on TV, they have micromanaged to the very day 6 months before their diet, their workout regime, all the way to that final point where he reveals his body for the world to see. That's 6 months of dedicated work from someone who knows a lot about fitness, because he does know a lot about fitness. After that, he will lose some of that definition on that six-pack because he no longer has to do the shoot. He no longer has to have his shirt off. And you see it on celebrities all the time. They do a movie and then they're pictured on the beach where they've got they no longer have a six-pack. because most people fall in between the area of quite hard to get a six-pack and they're quite hard to maintain. Again, you get very lucky people that easily get them. You get very unlucky people that find it almost impossible to get them. Most people, they're in the middle. So that is the best advice or information I can give you to a six-pack. If you really want to go down that route, follow someone who has all of the details, gram for gram, of what they're eating. Start doing that yourself. Work out, is it working for you? And you have to do the fault finding. Okay, that's not working for me. This is working for me. And it's all about getting to know your body, your genetic type, and only you can know that. There are fitness providers out there that will do that for you one-on-one, but obviously it's a paid service. So me doing this general video for you, I can't say, okay, for you, this is the general advice. It's going to then work for somebody else, because you are different. So with every single one of my clients, they are unique in their own right, and I have to periodize a program that is completely unique and structured to them. Every single one of them has a difference in the range of movement they can do, how they respond to things like deadlifts, because some of them, it really doesn't agree with their back. Others just find it uncomfortable and they really don't like it. Everybody is so different. And again, my main client base is between 40 and 70 years old. Once people start getting into their 40s, you start seeing a lot of knee issues, a lot of shoulder issues, general joint issues, because once you get older, you don't bounce back from injuries as well. So you carry those injuries a lot more. Also, when you're doing a bodybuilding program with older people, a lot of the injuries they've had in the past that have never been rehabbed properly start to show themselves up and start to slow down that program of training them. So at the physiotherapy clinic, we will always ask people, have you broken any bones in your life, even when you were a kid? And you have some 65-year-old person sitting there going, what relevance does it have that I broke my arm when I was a kid? And the relevance it has is because when we start training them, that weakness will always come out. And you'll be like, what happened to your arm? And they'll be like, oh, nothing. Oh, actually, when I was a kid, I broke my arm. And you're like, yeah, you can still tell you have that weakness because it was never rehabbed, that arm. It's fascinating. The world of fitness is fascinating. I don't know how to build a house. I don't know how to fix a car. But one thing I'm pretty good at, because I spent my life doing it, is fitness. Six-pack, not magic. It's just micromanaging and being honest and realistic with your physique that you were given. Please like, please subscribe. If you like and subscribe to this video, it boosts the algorithms and lets more people show this. My goal with this channel is just to give hopefully some good information from someone who spent a lifetime in fitness and has a fairly good kind of fitness CV with the military, with the physio clinic, with British Military Fitness. I've worked with some of the top instructors in the world. Royal Marine Commando physical training instructors, British Military Fitness instructors. I've worked with some of the top physios that are world renowned, top dietitians that appear on TV are world renowned, train competitive triathletes. So I have been blessed in my life to be surrounded by some people much better than I am. And these are just my humble opinions, but hopefully I've picked up something from all the people that I have been around with throughout my life. So please like, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.